All right, podcast equipment. I've done a ton of videos that give you a rundown on the podcast equipment I use, but today I'm going to take you behind the scenes and show you my complete setup when I go on site and record a podcast with a client. My name is Cree, and if you followed this channel for a while, you know that I talk about tech with context. And today is one of those great opportunities for you to see how I set up a podcast environment when I'm on site with a client. Now, this type of a scenario is just an easy way to grab high quality content for your client. We're not in a studio, we're going to a client's office. So, we're not concerned about sound treatment. We're kind of running with the natural lighting that's in the room. And the most important thing is that we're capturing a very compelling conversation. Now, when it comes to podcasts, I really enjoy providing this type of service to my clients because not only do you get that long form video for podcasts, but you can post these videos to YouTube, and then also you can break these down into clips. So you can share highlights about the conversation and drive traffic to that long form video. So this is a great way that I make money with my business. And without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at this breakdown. For video, I use a 3-camera setup. 2 of my cameras are the FX3 with a 24-70, and that gives me that tight angle for each of the individual people in the podcast. And then I also use my A7R5 with my 16-25. This gives me that wide angle, that third camera view. I run all of my video inputs into my ATEM Mini Pro ISO, and the way that I power all my cameras is using a V battery mount system. This is a great way to have endless power while you're on site. So I just use this V mount along with a dummy battery to power all of my cameras. And finally, not only do I record all of my episodes internally in each of the cameras, but I'm also using this external SSD to capture not only whatever I'm live switching, but then each of the separate video inputs that are run through the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. To monitor video while I'm on site, I use my Atomos Ninja 5. I can live switch and also record to this external monitor as a backup. For audio capture, I use the Rodecaster Pro 2. I do use external microphones on each of the cameras so that when I'm recording internally, I have that audio backup, and then I monitor using a pair of headphones. This particular client has microphones in their office. So when I am setting up, I just bring out this portable table that I bring on all of my podcast recordings. This gives me a space to set up all of my equipment, and I don't have to depend on using a desk or a table on site. All I do once I arrive is I'm going to set up all of my gear, put all of my audio recording equipment on the table along with the ATEM Mini Pro ISO so that I can record all the video and run everything through one source. And then I'm going to set up all of the different camera angles. One other thing that I do while I'm setting up this environment is I utilize lighting. Now, this room has a nice bright window. You can see all of this natural lighting that comes in. I do have a portable kit made by LumeCube. This little light kit is great. It's nice and small and compact. And then I set this lighting up just as a way to kind of keep the lighting consistent during the interview. Remember, we're utilizing natural lighting coming in from the windows. Sometimes the sun goes behind trees, or it might be a cloudy day. Sometimes that happens in Las Vegas. And then these light panels just allow me to provide consistent lighting in this space. When it comes to this particular client, they opted against setting up in a typical studio environment where I have controlled lighting. It's a soundproof environment. They just want this nice, relaxed feel for his guests to come in. They're sitting at his desk, and we're capturing a conversation. And when somebody walks into the room, it is a little intimidating. You have all of the cameras set up. They see all the lighting and the equipment. But once they sit down across the desk from the host of this podcast, they're able to settle in and have a nice, natural conversation for the particular podcast episode. For each of the camera setups, I do utilize a V-mount battery system. This gives me plenty of battery power so that I'm not swapping out batteries in the middle of these conversations. And then what I am doing is I am plugging an HDMI cable into each of the cameras, and I'm running that HDMI cable into the back of the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. Looking at all of the ports, I'm running 2 microphones into the Rodecaster Pro 2. I'm also running audio outs. I'm running one audio out into the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, and I'm also running an audio out into the Atomos Ninja 5. Now, when it comes to the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, I have 3 camera angles that I'm working with, so I'm plugging each of the camera angles into the appropriate port. On the left-hand side, you're going to notice that I am utilizing an external SSD. When it comes to capturing podcast episodes, this external SSD capture is a game changer. What it does is when I hit the record button, it's going to start each of the video files at the exact same time. And that is very helpful when it comes to the edit. Also, the same thing goes with the Rodecaster Pro 2. When it comes to recording audio on that device, I am collecting a stereo mix, but I'm also collecting a separate audio file for each of these separate microphones. So when it comes to the edit, I can pull everything in and separate them out based on who's speaking in that particular video clip. And in this situation, I am running an HDMI cable from the ATEM Mini Pro ISO over to the Atomos Ninja 5. This just allows me to monitor each of the camera angles during the recording. When it comes to the audio, I have a pair of headphones on. I'm monitoring the audio throughout the duration of the interview. And then I'm also live switching and recording externally on the Ninja 5. When it comes to the Ninja 5 recording, this is like my third and ultimate backup if the internal recordings fail on each of the cameras, if for some reason the recordings that I'm capturing on the ATEM Mini Pro ISO fail, all those files that I'm capturing to the external SSD, if those all fail, then I do have kind of a scratch project that's being captured in the Ninja 5. So I do have redundancy set up in this system just in case something were to break down, which is something that you should also consider when you are recording these types of interviews. It's taken me a while to really optimize this workflow. A couple things that I do want to point out. One, the cameras that you use, you just want to make sure that they're not going to overheat. These types of interviews take upwards of an hour, hour and a half, and sometimes 2 hours. So you do want to make sure that you're not going to be in some type of an overheating situation. Also, your battery life is something to consider, as well as the memory that you have available on the SD cards that you have in your cameras, and then also whatever external SSD you're going to use to capture audio and video that comes out of the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. Some other important considerations to make when it comes to capturing audio and video in this type of a situation is redundancy. You want to make sure that you do have some sort of a backup, because I promise you things are going to go wrong. So in this situation for my audio, I am recording all of my audio in the Rodecaster Pro 2, but I also have external shotgun mics on each of the cameras. Is that the best audio? No, but I can get away with using the audio that's captured there as an extreme backup. And when it comes to redundancy in video, I am recording internally on all of the SD cards on each of the individual cameras. And then I also have that external SSD card. That's a backup. And then just in case, I am live switching and capturing a version of the recording on the Ninja 5. Would you change anything about the setup? If you would, let me know in the comments below. This has been really fun just to bring you behind the scenes and show you what this equipment looks like when you're actually bringing it on site and working with a client. If you like these types of videos, I invite you to subscribe. And if you really like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button before you head out. Thanks as always for tuning in, and I'll see you again in next week's video.